had a lot of good teachers in my journey, and I think you are one of the best, if not the best, teachers I've had. So I would encourage people to definitely study neurosemantics and NLP and coaching, and study with Jason Snyder and anybody else that he recommends, because
That, that really,
It'll be good for you, for your communication, for your self awareness and your growth, and there's no downside to it.
Hey everybody, Jason Schneider here, the founder of the Perception Academy, and I'm really excited to have one of my clients, Ken, here today to share with us some of the things that he's learned and taken away from our work together in terms of NLP and neurosemantics over the past couple of years. So I'm really excited to see how he's been doing since we last met. And I'm sure that he's going to have a couple of, insights that he's learned from our work together that I'm sure you could take away from this. So I'm really happy to have you on. Welcome, Ken.
Hey, thanks. I'm glad to be here. It's going to be great.
Yeah, definitely. Ken is a pastor in a fairly large church, and he wears the hats of coach, counselor, small group leader, and trainer in his ministry, which includes working one-on-one in groups and also running classes. And we've been working together for, boy, a couple of years now.
Couple
How
of years
do you
now.
remember how long it's been?
I really don't. I think it's been at least 2 years, because I'm almost finished with Master Prac with you. So
Right. So we've been meeting on and off for over 2 years now. And
yeah.
I'm wondering, over those years, what's been one of the main learnings, I guess, if you could, I know we've been through a lot, but if we could sum up one thing that really had an impact on you, what would you say that would be?
Well, like for me as a pastor and working with people that I believe God designed, I mean, one of the things that's really resonates with me with neurosemantics is how deeply honoring it is of people, that they have dignity and worth, and that they have potentials. And that's like a really high ceiling for what people can do. And so reinforcing that for me has been really, um, I really connect with that. So that's a huge thing for me, is just how neurosemantics honors the dignity of people, and that they can choose. They have freedom to choose to achieve their potentials.
And I know you've done quite a bit of training, I imagine, over your years. And
Yeah.
what is it about the neurosemantics that really stood out for you that had you coming back for a couple of years to continue learning and developing?
Well, really just the idea that, in our culture and even in church, and I think this is partly true, that there are things about us that are broken. And so we have to give attention to that. But the bright side of human nature is that there are things beautiful and wonderful and amazing about people, because we're wired and made that way. And so neurosemantics really highlights all of that for me, and helps me see more clearly, like, what is amazing about this person? What is their magic? What is it in them that I can appreciate and really even learn from? So it really just helps me to have a sense of honor for every person. And I think neurosemantics really highlights that's a really deep truth about people.
Yeah, I think I had the same thing. So when I first, started even before I started my career, I was considering being some sort of a therapist, kind of a counselor role. And for me personally, like when I discovered these tools to say, like, well, people have this potential and that they work perfectly well to achieve their outcomes. For me, that was something that really pulled me into this field to say, people are working perfectly well, and it's just a matter of finding their superpowers, their skills, and being able to utilize those in different areas.
Yeah,
Was a
that's
big
a
thing
really
for me.
cool thing, like finding their superpower. They don't know they have a superpower. And like what you were saying, they work perfectly well. The the idea that I get from neurosemantics is that everything we do is an achievement. I mean, that's amazing. It might
Right.
not be working for you, but you're skilled at something. And so can you turn that in a different direction? That's been really helpful to me too.
Yeah, I've loved that reframe. And so in addition to that, so I'm wondering, how do you apply this? Like, do you apply this with yourself or with your clients? How does that work in a day-to-day basis? Or
What's so cool about neurosemantics is, and you've said this many times, apply to self first. So
Hmm.
it's helped me be more self-aware of, like, what am I doing? How am I getting myself into this state? How did I do this? Instead of like, how is this happening to me? So it's helped me be more self-aware of how I'm managing myself, and just the idea that I have a choice. I can manage myself differently. I can see things differently. And with my clients, I can look for their superpower. I can help them rummage around in all the broken things and find this one thing. Like, did you know you had this? So it's helped me to kind of lift out of people those things that are really good, because they know what's broken. And, we can talk about that, but it's really helped me with to be curious about people.
Mm,
They're talking about a lot of broken things and setbacks, and then I can be curious about what is this person doing well? What do they know how to
mm.
do? They don't even know, and then try to help them take that thing they do well and let's use it over here. Because they have that superpower.
So and I love that. Like, definitely, I agree. I always kind of preach about applying your tools to yourself first and having it to, and the idea of like, not why is this happening to me, but shifting that question to like, how am I doing this, or what's my role in this, right? So maybe being more about what I can do in response to the things that are going on outside of me that maybe are not in my control, and kind of drawing that line about what is in my power and what
Oh
is not.
yeah, the inner and the outer game is another one for me. Is there's a lot of outer games going on, a lot of things happening out there, but the whole idea that there's an inner game, that I can play an inner game, that I have choice and freedom. It doesn't really matter what people are doing. And if I can deal with my internal world, I can be more productive. I can be more calm. I can be more sane. I can relax because I'm dealing with my insides. That's been helpful to me.
Yeah, I love that. I love that. So no matter what anybody else is doing out there, no matter what's happening, there's maybe people, bad things happen. People get sick. We get sick as human beings. Economics and political things happen, and yet, that's outer world stuff. But our responses to that, taking ownership over that, and having some more flexibility with that, can be really powerful.
Oh, definitely. And I need that personally. That's really helped me personally. And I think the benefit I get it from Neurosemantics personally translates to, I've been there so I can help my clients do that. Instead of
Mm.
just reading some formula from some book or something, it's like I've applied it to myself.
Yeah, that's another good point, right? So not just learning maybe a conceptual model or a theoretical model or a philosophical model, but actually speaking from experience about what you've been through, and being able to say, "Hey, I've been there. I've experienced that. Let me guide you from this place of having been there." I think.
Yeah, definitely. I
So
agree
you,
with that.
yeah, tell me.
No, I really like that idea. In a way, it's a revolutionary idea that you can choose.
Hmm.
I mean, you hear that all the time, and it can be a way of dismissing people's complexity, but it's also in a deeper way. It's the really is the truth. You have a lot more freedom and choice than you know. You just have to
Hmm.
kind of get in touch with that.
I love that. Yeah. And I'm wondering, so you mentioned something about like, noticing more of the superpowers in your clients and being able to maybe coach them. Anything you'd like to share about maybe an experience you've had with that, or some way that's worked for you in the past?
I'm kind of laughing now because I did have a client once. So I tried out one of the techniques she taught me about critical inner voice, because people can have a real critical inner voice that's really harsh and punitive, and they can be engaging in self-attacks and blame themselves for things. And there's just one client who had been assaulted and by her husband, and it ended in a divorce, rightly so. But she felt guilty for it, for ending the relationship, and she felt to blame for it. And this voice kept, so I asked her, like, what are you saying to yourself? And where is it coming from? And how loud is it? And what kind of tonality is it? And all of these things. And she was very much in a deep, dark state of like unresourcefulness. So I tried the technique that you were talking about with the critical voice. I said, well, imagine that voice is like a Scooby-Doo voice. And she started just laughing hilariously, and her state totally changed.
Yeah,
And I
that's
asked her, like,
amazing.
well, can you send it far, 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 far away where you could barely hear it? And she just doing that, I could have talked to her for hours about, you don't need to be feeling that way. You're not to blame. And it might not have had an impact that doing that one thing.
Nice,
So
right.
it even surprised me. I was like, wow, this is really working. This helps.
Wow, this is real. I can't do a good Scooby-Doo voice, but yeah. So, and that's an amazing thing too, is so people most of the time the voices are kind of they're going on, but we're not aware of all the little details like how loud is it, whose voice is it, where is it.
Yeah.
Those are kind of weird questions to someone who's used to kind of being, especially those critical voices where you're used to being on the receiving end of that in maybe a harsh way, and starting to bring some awareness to it and start to take some control over it by making those changes. That's powerful to like you said, you could tell her, well, and that's the stuff that she's hearing from everybody else around her, the same kind of advices, but to get in there and to make some changes and to take some control back over the voices that she has in her own mind can have powerful results.
Yeah. It was also amazing from the standpoint of, from my vantage point, I did a little thing, but she's telling all her friends about it. Like, I did this amazing thing. Well, she did it.
Right.
She had that ability to do that.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that's also cool. I remember when I would go through that experience when I was learning, and I still have it every once in a while, where you do something that seems kind of simple, I guess, based on what you know, and the results are so profound that people aren't used to thinking in that way. And
Yeah. It's pretty
yeah.
amazing. So then
So
that gives you more clients, I guess.
right. Then people go around,
So,
they're telling all their friends about this amazing thing, this amazing person who was able to get some good results when everybody else was just telling them, stop it.
yeah. 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 That was
uh,
great.
so I really appreciate you coming on here. I don't want to take too much of your time, but I'm wondering, any final words out there for anyone who's watching this, who's interested in maybe learning NLP or neurosemantics for either applying it to themselves or for their coaching or communication and relationships in their life?
Well,
What would you
honestly,
say?
yeah, honestly, I would put in a plug for you. I would say definitely study some NLP but there's a lot of people teaching NLP out there. But neurosemantics and NLP, the way you teach it, and I think is, if you're going to study it, I would encourage people to study with you. And there's lots of other good trainers out there, but I really I've had a lot of good teachers in my journey, and I think you are one of the best, if not the best, teachers I've had. So I would encourage people to definitely study neurosemantics and NLP and coaching, and study with Jason Snyder and anybody else that he recommends.
That really,
It'll be good for you, for your communication, for your self-awareness and your growth. And there's no downside to it at
that
all.
really means a lot to me, really, truly. And I want to ask a follow-up because I have to, and I'm so curious about feedback. But what would you say if you could give a specific about something that working with me was that really resonated with you, or why me? Why would you recommend?
Well, aside from your skill and your knowledge and your expertise, as a pastor and a counselor myself, I listen a lot, I give a lot, I help a lot, and it's rare that I'm not in the helping role. And so with you, you were able to, um, you know, be of service to me. And I don't often sit in the other chair where I'm receiving, and you're very generous and with that, and you're very non-judgmental, you're very accepting, and you can see my superpowers, which, having someone see your superpower is an experience in itself that can be transformative. So I really appreciate that. And I would say that would be the number one reason to study with Jason Snyder, with you.
I really appreciate it, and it means a lot to me, and definitely that's something that I've been growing into and working on, and continuing to grow and to develop. So I really appreciate you. I appreciate your time. What I'll do is, around this video, I'll share some information maybe that you shared with me that I can share with people to kind of mark some of the points that you made in this conversation. And I look forward to our next step in our journey together, and looking forward to continuing to see you, developing in your career and your life and yourself.
Thank you. I'm looking forward to it as well.
Yeah,
Appreciate you letting me be on here.
Thank you so much, Ken.